Hello and welcome back to my tutorial. In today's tutorial, I'll be talking about the 10 basic Docker tools. As we all know, Docker is a very powerful tool that allows developers to create, develop, and run applications in a lightweight, portable, and secure environment. And Docker does this through the use of containerization technology that isolates applications and their dependencies from underlying systems and provide a consistent and reliable environment for running software. So in today's tutorial, we'll explore some of the essential Docker commands by working with Nginx web server image. We all know Nginx is a popular web server that's widely used in web application and microservice architecture. So by using Docker to run Nginx, we'll quickly spin up a web server instance with all the necessary dependencies and configuration. We can easily manage it using Docker commands. And some of the Docker commands we'll be looking at today is the Docker pull, Docker run, Docker ps, Docker stop, start, Docker pods, Docker remove, and Docker remove image, and Docker execute. So we'll demonstrate how to use this command with practical examples showing you how to pull the Nginx image, run it in a container, manage the container and execute commands inside of that same container. And by the end of this tutorial, you have a good understanding of how to use Docker to manage containers and deploy applications. Alright, so let's dive into our web browser and go directly to the Docker Hub to look for the Nginx image. Yeah, over here on the Docker Hub, there is the Nginx image, and if you watch our previous videos, we talked about the Docker official image. So this is the Docker official image for Nginx, and so this is just the image, this is not the container. And over here we see the various versions of Nginx. So if you run this command docker pull Nginx, you'll be pulling the latest version of Nginx. But if, like, say, your team is using a particular version of Nginx, so you can actually install any of those versions. Okay, so let's dive quickly back to the terminal, and the first code I'm going to be running is the docker pull. Docker pull Nginx. So what this code does is going to actually pull the Nginx image from Docker Hub. Okay, so I'm going to click on enter. So the next command we want to use is the docker run command. So for docker run, what this command does actually is used to run a container from an image. So we're going to actually use docker run right now to start the Nginx image. So one thing you should know is that if the Nginx doesn't exist, Docker is going to download it. If it exists, Docker is going to run a container from that image. Okay, so now this is the name of the image, okay, that we're running. So I'm just going to click run. Let's see some things here. So all right, so the next command we'll be talking about is the docker ps. Docker ps is a command that's used to list all the running containers on the host system. Okay, so back to our terminal, we can just do docker ps. Alright, so now we have our docker ps, and this is the list of all the containers that we have executed so far. So here, there are key things you need to take note of. So over here, we have the container ID. This is a column that shows like the unique identifier for each container. It can also be used as a reference used to reference in other Docker commands, and we'll see that shortly. So the image column, this shows the name of all the images that the container is based on, and the command, this column shows the command that is being run inside of the container. Why they created, this shows the amount of time that has elapsed since the container was created. Why the status, this shows the current status of the container, such as running, paused, or exited. Why the port, this column shows the port that are exposed by the container and mapped to the host port. So later in this video, I'm going to show you how to map your container port to your host port. Then why for the names, this column shows the names of all the containers are specified through the dash name option, which we did earlier. So earlier in this video, I showed you how to name your container, because if you don't name your container, Docker is just going to give your container a random name. So for the first two containers we created, which are these first two here, Docker gave a random name. Why for the ones we define our name, which is my Nginx. So that is what is here. So the next command we're going to talk about is the Docker run option. So the Docker run is a command that's used to start a new container. We know that already. But the dash option flag is a placeholder that refers to the various options that can be used with the Docker run command. Okay, so let's dive into our terminal and check how to use this. Okay, so when using Docker run, there's a number of options that can be specified to customize the behavior of the container that is created. And some of the most commonly used options include the -d option. Okay, so just to make sure you're getting what I'm saying, I'm just going to run a command here. I won't execute it, but I'll try to explain to you everything that this command does. Okay, all right. Okay, name, I'm gonna call it my Nginx2. Okay, I'm gonna do this tree and Nginx config. Alright, so this is actually a long piece of code, but nothing to fear. I'm going to explain to you what that means. Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to correct the typographical error here. Okay, so let's get started. Alright, so the -d here, which is here, it means like we're starting the container in the background. We're detaching the container from the terminal because we don't want all the containers activities to be showing. Okay, so the next one is the port 8080. Okay, so you see -p, the dash there specifies, so the -p here specifies port. Okay, 8080, which is these 8080 here, specify the port on the host system and maps it to the port in the container. Okay, so this allows traffic to be directed to the container from the host. Okay, so the next tag here is the --name. This helps us to name our container, and we saw this earlier. And the third one here, which is -v, there wasn't supposed to be space here. Okay, so the -v here, these are options that mount the Nginx configuration file from the host system to the container. This allows you to customize the Nginx configuration and have it persistent across containers restart, because when making changes to the configuration, the Nginx server inside the container needs to be restarted to pick up the new configuration. So when you don't have a persistent configuration in your host environment, you're actually going to have an issue. So I'm going to talk about how to remove containers in Docker using the Docker run remove command. Okay, so how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to do Docker PS, okay, to kind of like list all the available containers that we have. So if I do Docker PS -a, see, we still have just one container. So before I can remove this container, I have to do Docker stop. All right, Docker stop, and I'm just going to copy the name of this container ID over here, and I've stopped the container. If I do the Docker PS, just Docker PS, you see I don't have any active container. But if I do the Docker PS -a, you see I still have this container right here, but just that is not active. So if I want to remove this container entirely, all I just need to do is I do Docker RM, then I put the container ID that I want to remove. And once I do that, if I go back and do Docker PS -a, you see the container is totally gone. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys how to get ports from your Docker container. So I'm gonna restart this container again, and so our container is started. So if I want to get like the ports of this container, okay, all I just need to do is first of all I'll do Docker PS, okay, Docker PS, and once I get the Docker PS, the next I'm going to do is I get the container ID, and so to do that I just do Docker PS ports, so, and I place in that ID for the port. Once I run that, I'm able to see the port that my container is currently running. And in this situation, the port is running at port 8080 for both the host and the container itself. Alright, so the next command we're going to talk about is the Docker remove image. Okay, so this command is used to remove Docker image. So to remove the Nginx image, so we need to use this command. Alright, so let's go back to our terminal. So please, can you remember that for you to remove an image, every container that is running that image, you have to remove all the containers running that image before you can actually remove the image. Okay, so I'm just going to do, so let's make sure that everything is clear. So I'm going to do Docker PS. So I don't have anything running, but I'm going to check Docker PS-a. So I still have an Nginx container. So I need to remove that container before doing anything. So I'm going to do Docker remove, okay, and I'm just going to put the name of the container. This is a really important step, and so I'm just going to do Docker PS-a again just to make sure we have everything cleaned up. Alright, so we don't have any container that is running Nginx here. So the next thing I want to do now is to do the Docker remove image, and I'm going to put the name of the image I want to remove, okay, Nginx, and yeah, we should be good to go. So Nginx has been deleted from our environment. Okay, so this is all about remove. So let's check the next command. So the next command we'll be looking at is the Docker execute. So over here on the terminal, we'll be using Docker exec. But before we do that, so what is Docker execute? So this is a command that executes functions inside the Docker container. So inside your hosted containers, you can be able to run commands in those containers. Okay, and so to just give a particular example of what we're talking about, so first of all, we're going to do docker ps. So we have a container running with nginx image on it, and so for this container that's running, so next thing we want to do is to run the docker exec. So docker exec, so always make sure you have a container running before you can do this. So we're going to put a flag called it, and I'm going to call the name of the container, which is my nginx, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to call batch. Okay, and when I run this, okay, it gives me access to the root of the docker container. So if I do ls, okay, so we are currently inside of the container. So if I do ls, I can go to any of the directory I want to go to. So I can do I can even edit. Okay, I can actually edit any of the documents. I can create a document inside. So this is how the docker execute works. So for the sake of time, this is where we'll be stopping this tutorial today. So if you have any question, please ensure to drop that in the comment section. Thank you. Thank you for watching that video. I'd just like to let you know we have a quiz for this video in the description, so you can use that to solidify your knowledge on what you just learned. And secondly, if you have any questions or feedback, please kindly drop that in the comment section, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell just to make sure you get all the latest videos from this channel. Thank you.